Guys, we're going to have a great episode today. Before we get into that, I want to thank you guys, the listeners, for all the support that you get. I want to remind you that you can reach out to me on Instagram. If you don't follow it at JScottOutdoors. Feel free to send me a DM. I love corresponding with you guys about your hunts and any questions that you might have. We're going to have a great episode. I also want to thank the sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com. Cody Nelson, my friend of 20 plus years, he's the glassing guru, the optics authority. He's the optics manager over there at GoHunt.com at the gear shop. You can reach out directly for info or for sales at 702-847-8747. You can also email him at optics@gohunt.com. He also gets texts from my listeners on his cell phone, 602-399-3699. Feel free to send him a text if you're looking for a certain tripod or binocular or spotting scope or rifle scope, anything to do with optics. Give Cody Nelson a call or a text. I want to thank GoHunt.com also and remind you guys that the GoHunt maps, the mobile app, mapping apps, are now available on iTunes and Android. They have real 3D. It's awesome 3D mapping on these mobile apps. You can get a free trial, a 7-day free trial, by going to gohunt.com/JScott. You can also check in the show notes. I'll have it linked up. You get a 7-day free trial. That gives you access to everything in the Insider, as well as let you look at the mapping apps both on the desktop and on your phone. You can also sign up by going to gohunt.com and just use JScott, and that's going to save you $50. You're actually going to get a GoHunt gift card, $50 GoHunt gift card when you sign up. So go check it out. Also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. Go to KUIU.com to order the gear right there that are direct-to-consumer model. So that's the only place you can get the gear, as well as phonescope.com. Use the JScott21 promo code and you're going to get a 10% discount. Guys, let's get right to this episode. And again, thanks for listening. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. We've got my friend Justin Erhart of Premium Hunts out of the eastern part of Arizona, Unit 1 and 27. Justin, how you doing?
Good, Jay. How about you?
Good. You were just down in Mexico doing some guiding with us for Coues deer, and you had a couple of great trips. Are you wishing you were still in Mexico chasing big bucks?
Yeah, it's always a good time down there. It's fun, but it's always nice to come back home for a while.
For sure. I want to dive in and talk about the Arizona elk applications, which are due here next Tuesday, February 8th. And I wanted to get kind of an inside look at Unit 27 and Unit 1, which is where you live and the units that you guide in. And before we do that, what are conditions looking like as of right now on the ground? What is the data that people will want to know, that they need to know in order to apply, as far as monsoonal moisture, holdover feed, conditions as we see them right now?
Well, right now I'd say we're sitting pretty decent. This winter so far, we've had a couple of pretty decent storms. We dang sure could use some more between now and the end of April to put some icing on the cake. But this year we went into winter with phenomenal feed. We got some late monsoon rains this past year and didn't do much for the elk this last year, but that feed carried into winter. So the bulls have had a pretty mild winter weather-wise so far with some pretty good feed.
So with good holdover feed going into next season, you have to be fairly optimistic about potential good antler growth if we're being optimistic and think that we're going to get some spring moisture, which seems to really help green things up and get them started. You're thinking that potentially this next coming year could be very good if a few things line up right.
Yeah, definitely. I think right now we're sitting pretty decent, but if we get a little bit more moisture, I think it's going to shape up to be a pretty good year for antler growth.
Sounds good. In Unit 1 and 27 specifically last year, how did you see the hunts, going from all your experience of years past? How would you compare last year, or, how would you categorize it?
Last year actually turned out a little better than I had expected. I was kind of expecting the worst, and the bulls actually had pretty good growth in our neck of the woods last year. There were a few bulls, that we killed in kind of off the wall places that were a little droughted out on their top ends and stuff. But for the most part, I was pretty happy with the way last year turned out.
Do you is there any specific changes this year as far as tag numbers or season dates? I know the early archery season this year starts on September 9th and runs to the 22nd. One of the challenges with that is that moon is full on the 10th. How do you think that's going to translate into that first opening weekend of the archery hunt?
I think that first week's going to be, pretty slow, but steadily picking up as that moon starts to fade. Um, you know how it can play a factor in the amount of time they're on their feet, and with it hitting early in the rut, I think it's going to slow things down quite a bit.
Do you think, though, that for the right people that might find a bull early, that they could actually get on him before he's really riled up and, really gathering cows in a bunch of chaos? Does it leave an opportunity or an open window if you were to find a good one to be able to potentially get on him before he, gets a bunch of eyes around him?
Yeah, definitely. It'll dang sure be able to chase some bulls that are, haven't really pinned down where they're going to be yet, but they're going to be kind of in that still more docile transition from herd to herd, and you could dang sure pick one off like that.
Just looking at from a broad spectrum of Unit 1, 2B, 2C, and Unit 27, if you look at, say, a 5-year or even a 10-year window, where do you think we are in the spectrum of those units as far as quality? Do you think, it's getting better? Do you think it's remained the same, or do you think the quality has slipped some?
The quality has definitely gone downhill quite a bit, I would say. I mean, just for instance, this year in 27, I think they're putting out a combined total of 745 bull tags, and that's a lot. I know not everybody's going to harvest one, but that's a lot of animals every year to take out of the herd. And quality things sure gone downhill, but there are still good bulls around. They're just few and far between, and not as plentiful as they once were.
Do you feel like with the burn, certainly Unit 1, but do you feel like 27 has gotten easier to hunt because you can see a little bit better, and do you think that's translated into a few more bulls every year that have gotten harvested that maybe pre-burn wouldn't have been harvested because they were able to seek out the thick shelter?
Yeah, definitely. The burn, those first few years after our big fire, they were phenomenal. I mean, we still had age class. The feed was incredible. We'll never experience years like that ever again. And now, like you said, the burn has made it a lot easier to hunt in certain areas, and there's a lot more people killing elk now compared to pre-fire.
I want to start. I want to dive in. I kind of started talking about the full moon and the 9th, 10th, 11th there, that kind of, first part of the archery season. It looks as though Unit 27 and Unit 1 both have that same date of starting on the 9th. I'm not sure if it was a year ago or a couple years ago. I believe Unit 27 was one that was in the rotation that started with, I believe, a muzzleloader hunt right off the bat, and then the archery hunt followed after that. I'm curious if you could comment on your thoughts on how that hunt, affected the archery hunts. Has that hunt affected, this year or next year's draw as far as, did they do really well on that early hunt with the firearm?
Yeah, that was a few years back when they did that, and it dang sure impacted the archery hunt. Some of our top target bulls were actually taken on that early hunt that year. Kind of hated to see them fall before we got a crack at them, but that's just kind of the way it goes when they start off early like that. I'm not a real big fan of that super early date with a gun. I kind of think the bow hunters should maybe get the first crack at them, but they're going to do what they're going to do.
Sure. When you look at Unit 1 and 27, just comparing, let's just start with the early archery hunts. Compare those two units. Compare, let's say, if you were taking a guy in Unit 1 on that hunt, and compare if you were taking the same guy on the hunt in 27. What are the differences in the unit? What are the similarities? Like, compare the two units so that guys can kind of try and get a clear picture of what they're getting into.
Well, the Unit 1 bow hunt is going to be 10 times more fun than the Unit 27 bow hunt. You're going to be into a lot more bulls. There's a lot more action. There's a lot more areas that are accessible, and you can, change areas very easily from morning to evening. So Unit 1's going to be hands down way more fun of a hunt, and you're going to still be chasing some quality bulls. Where 27, you're going to be chasing some nice bulls, but you better come prepared because it's a unit that will chew you up and spit you out.
And when you say that, is it the terrain? Is it the lack of access? Is it the pockety elk, or all of the above?
It's just a combination of everything. The terrain's rugged that they're in. There's real pockety, and they're not widespread throughout the unit. You're going to find large swaths of Unit 27 that's just going to be void of elk that time of year.
Okay. So Unit 1 sounds like a lot, like you said, if you're looking for fun and experience, probably lean towards Unit 1. What if you were just strictly, let's say you had enough points to draw either, as far as ultimate size, do you think there's any difference in the Unit 1 and 27 archery hunt?
I would say if somebody's wanting to come out and they're wanting to chase bulls between that, 280 to 350 range, Unit 1's going to be the place you want to be. But if you want to chase bulls that are going to be 360 and up, and you're able to pound ground and you're in tip-top shape, then 27 is going to be probably a unit you want to look at. They're both going to hold big bulls, but in my opinion, Unit 1's going to hold more bulls in that 300 to 350 range, and 27 is going to hold more bulls that are going to be in that 360 plus range.
Okay. When I skip over and go to the firearm season, it looks like Unit 1 2B 2C is a muzzleloader hunt September 23rd through the 29th. And then it looks like the Unit 27 is the early rifle. Which one would you personally rather have out of the muzzleloader in Unit 1 or the rifle in 27, same dates?
Me personally, I would probably lean towards 27 if it was my own tag. But I know what that unit's going to entail, and I'd be happy, swallowing my tag at the end of the hunt, and just not having. I'd be happy eating my tag in 27 if I didn't find the bull that I wanted, basically.
But it sounds like you think that if you're just looking for one bull, probably the upper end bull, and for a guy that's willing to literally, have 20 some points or whatever and eat a tag, you think you could go to the very end, in 27, potentially chasing maybe just a step up of a bull.
Right. Last year we killed phenomenal bulls out of both hunts, Unit 1 early rifle and the 27 early muzzleloader. And I know they're flip-flop this year, but we killed great bulls out of both, but our bigger bulls came off of the 27 hunt. Okay. But it is no walk in the park. You've got to be in tip-top shape and have a good attitude and be ready to potentially eat a tag that took you 20 plus years to draw.
Let's talk a little bit about the late archery hunts. That's a November 4th through November 17th, Unit 1, 2B, 2C, and then you've got the same hunt in Unit 27. Which hunt do you prefer there on the late archery?
They're both pretty dang good hunts. They're a lot different style of hunting. Where, Unit 27, you're going to be stalking them in big, nasty country, and you're going to maybe get a stalk or two in a day. Where Unit 1, you might be hunting bulls in more of, flatter timber, but some mountain meadows, so you'd be kind of catching them in that transition from bedding to feeding.
Understood. Is there much water sitting in 1 and 27 on those late hunts, or is it mostly spot and stock?
It's mostly spot and stock. Depending on weather conditions, if you get a real dry year, you could do some good on some water. But these two units, we have a lot of groundwater throughout both units, even in the lower portions of 27. It's not like you're just going to be able to go sit up on a tank and have bulls funnel in like crazy. It's more or less a spot and stock hunt on both of them.
Okay. And then that leads me to the late elk hunts in 1 and 27. We've got a November 25th start date to December 1st. Which late hunt do you give the nod to over 1 and 27? Which one do you kind of lean towards?
Unit 27 is going to be a lot better late hunt, hands down. You're going to see a lot more bulls. You're going to probably see a lot better quality. And the only stipulation to that is you are going to see more people. There's just, we call those hunts the November Massacre. It's a lot of elk get killed during those hunts. And sometimes they can be pretty, I don't know how to put it, but they can take the air out of you when you're hearing gunshots go off all day long in portions of the unit.
As far as the dates, the 25th through the 1st, does anything jump out at you there? Do you like those dates? Do you like seeing them, earlier or later, or it doesn't really matter at that point?
No, the dates are pretty good. I do wish they'd kind of slide those late hunts away from Thanksgiving, but that'd be the only thing. You hope you get a little bit of weather leading up to the hunt, and usually get some weather during those hunts.
So does weather make those hunts better as far as being able to see the bulls because there's snow on the ground, or does it get them moving or up feeding, or what's the status with that?
Yeah, a little bit of all the above. In 27, it'll actually push bulls into more remote places where they won't see as much pressure. So that's what we really like to see is a lot of those elk getting, pushed away from the roads and some of that more accessible country and push them down into the rougher stuff where not many people are willing to go.
Couple questions from some Instagram followers. What does the quality of bulls and age class still look like in both units?
That's a tough one, man. Because, in Unit 1 archery hunt, you get a lot of influx of bulls from 27 and from the reservation. So quality during the September time frame in Unit 1 is going to be a lot better than the quality in the November rifle hunts. But
go ahead.
Across the board on average, both units are realistically a 300 to 330 type unit. And you're going to have, a handful of bulls that are going to be north of that. And, some might be a little bit north, some might be quite a ways north of that range. But
Yeah,
for
and
the
just
most
go
part,
on your Instagram page to see them too, because it seems like you guys kill them all. um, it seems like you guys kill better bulls than that, but I think what you're trying to do is paint a realistic expectation of that 300 to 330 with a chance for better, right?
yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't want anybody coming out with unrealistic expectations. I mean, to kill those caliber of bulls up in that upper range, we're passing a lot of bulls in that lower range. So you got to be prepared mentally, because you might have to look at 100 bulls before you find the one that you're looking for.
Next question says 100% odds to draw either archery in 1 or 27. Is this the year? Is the moisture there? Question mark.
Like I mentioned before, I think we're sitting pretty good right now. A little bit more moisture between now and the end of April would do a lot for us. But
And apply with point guard for whatever reason. If moisture shuts off or something changes, that always gives you the option. But what you're saying with what you know right now are looking pretty good, probably better than we've looked in a handful of years, right?
absolutely, I'm excited to see what's going to happen this year with the moisture and the horn growth. But anybody who's applying with more than 2 points should always buy the point guard. It's only $5. I mean, buy it. You never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Could save your points.
Next question, are the late season archery hunts worth it for low point holders?
Absolutely. If you want to come out and do some elk hunting and have, your chance at some decent 6 points, then those late archery hunts are good hunts.
Got another question here for you, Justin. If you're not seeing bulls, how long before you move to new country?
That totally depends on where I'm at in the unit, but I would say, a morning, if I'm not seeing something, I'm moving. And if I'm moving, I could be moving, only a half a mile away and just changing my angle 180 degrees. But if you're not seeing something after a full morning, I'd be packing up and going elsewhere.
And then how do you find mature bulls on those late elk hunts?
Lots of time in the glass. That's the only way you're going to find them.
Okay. Let's see. Late rifle elk in 27. 330 to 340 bull unrealistic without scouting?
Without scouting, I would say the odds are stacked against you, but could still happen.
Here's one. At least the guy's honest. I'm really fat. Should I still apply for unit 27?
No, absolutely not.
Short and sweet. I love it. For a non-resident with low points, is the late rifle worth it? Less than 10 points.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the better late rifle hunts in the state.
Good stuff here. I like that. If I'm fat, should I apply?
It's a unit that, somebody, even if they come out, I've taken guys to the emergency room on that hunt who come out and were bodybuilders, and it will chew up the fittest of fit and spit them out.
Yeah. Let's talk about last year, your success. It surprised you a little bit. You thought the quality was better than what you kind of were expecting. You guys did really, really well. Talk about a few of the bulls that you guys have harvested over the last couple of years.
Yeah, quality last year, I was kind of expecting the worst and praying for the best, and it turned out a lot better than what I'd expected, for sure. We took some great bulls last season.
It's great in your mind now, kind of anything over that 350 mark. Is that kind of great, or is great to you 360, 370?
That's a tricky question for sure. Kind of depends on a lot of everything, as far as which unit you're in and which hunt you're on.
And conditions, right?
Absolutely. I mean, for those early rifle and muzzleloader hunts, I'm saying anything north of that 360 range is going to be a great bull.
Right.
Last year we took a mid 360 bull out of Unit 1 on the early rifle hunt, and those same dates we took a bull that was right at that 390 range off the 27 hunt that was muzzleloader. So great bulls, both units. I mean, you don't pass either of those caliber of bulls up.
For sure. So I know you focus on Unit 1 and 27, but you also do, and we can cover this later, but I also wanted to note you do hunts in New Mexico as well. How do you see the hunts in New Mexico faring this year from the conditions that you know of?
I think they're going to be decent. I don't think we're going to see like a banner year by any means, unless our weather changes pretty drastically and we get some better moisture in some of those areas over there. A lot of those areas over there are more arid units, and they don't have the natural groundwater that we do, say, in the Arizona side of Unit 1 and 27. So some more moisture over there is going to be a huge impact for sure.
Gotcha. On your hunts, 1 and 27, do a lot of your hunters stay in local lodging, or is everything based out of, camps, out in the forest? How do you run those hunts?
So for Unit 27, I mean, 9 times out of 10, we're camped out, and that's either in travel trailers, wall tents, or dome tents. Just logistically, the unit, you can end up a long ways from any town at all. And Unit 1, most of the time we're staying here in town because it's very centralized within the unit, and we have some pretty decent accommodations where people can get a hot shower and some good rest, and every morning they're still got a short drive to any portion of the unit that they're going to. Good
stuff. Sounds good. I want to thank you for coming on, Justin, and talking to us about Unit 1 and 27. And I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know the best way to reach out to you before this draw, and anything else that you'd like to say.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jay. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, best way is going to be just give me a call. Number's 928-245-8722. Or you can message us on Instagram or Facebook. You can find us on both of those. Anyway, we'll get back to you now. I did miss a few calls that I've been returning when we were down in Mexico, but anybody that wants to give me a call with any questions or just chat about any of the hunts, feel free to give me a call anytime, day or night.
Awesome, man. Justin Erhart, Premium Hunts. Make sure to check him out on Instagram. I believe it's premium_hunts, right, Justin, on Instagram?
Correct.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, God bless. Congrats on the success. You and Cade really did a great job this year on a couple of those trips in Mexico and shot some great bucks. So congratulations on that. And, I wish you the best of success in the upcoming draws, and I'll be chatting at you, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot, Jay.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.